Anything in life worth doing is a team sport. Why cook if there's no one to cook for? Why make movies if there's no one to watch it? Why make music if there's no one to play it for or to play it with? Even when it comes down to battling that rare blood disease, stick it to the maniosis. Do it as a team or don't do it at all. This is School of Rock.
Hell yeah, dude. Stick it to the maniosis.
I always love the one kid just flat on the ground.
Oh, yeah, when Freddy's just laying there.
Yeah. And then they're just like, hey, stop. You're dead. Remember, he just drops right back to the ground.
Collapses again.
He's like, my bad.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies where every single performance is pitch perfect.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, but I know we're going to get into it a little later, but I just want to make it clear for listeners. I fucking love School of Rock. It's just a movie that it gives me a feeling I can't quite put into words, but I'll do my best throughout this episode. I have an hour to try.
Yeah, this is like, I feel like this is up there with Spider-Man for you. Like Spider-Man, Lion King, like this is one of your favorites.
It's among those ranks, yeah. To me, it's a pretty flawless movie, and it's another movie that means something different to me as I get older, and each time I watch it. It went from like a childhood favorite to, having that wish fulfillment of like, Jack Black, like teaching me how to play guitar. That sounds awesome. And then like, now it's like a much more deep and moving movie about like, expressing yourself and being true to who you are, no matter what society tells you should be.
Yeah.
And which we'll get into in a little bit. So I'm excited.
I realize we're on a split screen and I sometimes forget, but while you were saying meaningful things about this movie and your relationship with this movie, I was continuously adjusting my shirt because I'm just like not fully comfortable with it. So
you can always just cut to my wide and edit yourself out of that. But now you just kind of outed yourself for that.
You know why I did it? To be honest, I know I'm going to edit it later and I didn't want to put in the extra effort to cut to a single. So I'm just like, I'm going to acknowledge it so we could stay on
the lengths you go to be lazy.
Oh, dude.
Like, I feel like it took more effort to do all this than it would have to just cut to a wide of me.
I'm pretty productive with my laziness.
I'm happy for you.
But welcome to Movies That Changed Us. I'm Altaf.
And I'm Chris.
And if you're listening to this on Spotify or wherever you listen to our podcast, know that you can also watch us on YouTube at Movies That Changed Us.
Just letting you know, last episode you skipped this as well. You need to say, and today we're going to talk about how School of Rock changed us.
You said it last time, right? You said it.
I said it for you last time, but normally it's you that says it. I said it to kind of pick up the slack.
Well, today we're going to be talking about how School of Rock changed us.
And if you enjoy the show and want to support us, we do have a Patreon if you want to check it out. You can go to patreon.com/moviesthatchangedus, where you can find weekly commentary tracks where we record ourselves watching movies and you can listen along, watch movies with us. This go around, we're covering Nice Dude Classics, meaning movies that Altaf and I have reacted to over on the reaction channel that were kind of big for us and movies that stood out. This go around, we're going to be covering Blade after this recording. That should be out by the time this episode comes out.
Chris, I think I have the same answer as you. Before I ask you what art moved you this week, I just want to say that this past weekend, we're recording this on a Tuesday. And this past weekend, Chris actually came back to LA and, just to hang out and visit. And we did a lot of things, but one of the things we did was very special. It was planned out a while ago, even before you moved. So, Chris, I'm going to throw it at you. What art moved you this week?
What art moved me this week? So, yeah, just to contextualize, Altaf and I went to the screening for the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. What is there to say? I haven't seen that movie in a little while, but that movie's a fucking blast, especially in theaters. Like, you haven't seen it in a long time, Altaf. When was the last time you watched it?
Years, man. Over 10 years at least.
Okay, like high school territory?
Yeah.
If that?
Yeah, no, definitely high school. I remember watching it with friends.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it had been a while for me. I don't rewatch the prequels as much. And it's not even like, I don't even have this like extreme hatred for them. I choose not to rewatch them because they're not just as rewatchable. But this anniversary screening was coming up. Revenge of the Sith is also now known. Some people just have it up there as their favorite Star Wars movie. I was really excited to see it, and seeing it in theaters was amazing. It was just something that like really blew me away was Hayden Christensen's performance.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. He's so good in it.
Yeah, he has these like very tired and angry eyes about like it's easy to just kind of get lost in his facial expressions and his looks throughout the whole movie. And it really kicks in this one more than it ever does in the second movie, to be clear.
I gotta say, and the fascist undertones that have been in all of the Lucas Star Wars movies, I feel like are made very clear here. Very obvious too, but it's like I feel like Lucas kind of figured out how to express that idea and he balanced the tone a bit better with this one, I felt. And
Yeah.
and like there's just sequences in here that made me really realize the magical difference between Lucas Star Wars and Disney Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
sequences that I can't even like. There's one part where like Padme and Anakin are across the city from each other, and they're looking to the sun, and it's like setting, and there's this like opera music going on in the back as the score. John Williams' score for Revenge of the Sith is fucking amazing, but that score is going, and it's all like showing, not telling, and it feels like a paranoid thriller when you're watching it. And then obviously the opera scene between Palpatine and Anakin is a classic. That scene was always good, but it really hits in theaters,
So yeah, you're just pointing out stuff that you didn't really think about before, stuff that probably hasn't been celebrated enough, because everyone always quotes the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise and all that stuff.
Well, to answer the question, stuff that moved me,
Yeah, exactly. Same here. I mean, I watched it more recently than you did, probably like a couple months ago. Was when I last watched it, and that was my first time.
You're more familiar with Clone Wars than being this bigger Star Wars fan that you are, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So but it was really special to see it in like a theater. There were certain people that were like quoting along with it in the movie. People were kind of like, it was very much for the people that grew up with it. It was the 20th anniversary, so a lot of us went and saw that movie as kids. I mean, I remember that movie was a huge fucking deal when it came out. I remember that was like everyone, all the kids, because I was probably like in 5th grade, I think, when it came out, 4th or 5th grade.
Oh yeah.
And that was the thing. Everyone is going and seeing the new Star Wars movie and waiting for it because it's like Anakin's gonna become Darth Vader.
Even the scenes that get memed a lot moved me. Like when Anakin feels like Obi-Wan betrayed him, and there's like he's pacing back and forth. That clip, like I'm talking about when they're on Mustafar, that clip has gotten memed. It's been made fun of. Like, but it really moved me. It like really got to me. Like I felt it, and it's just, it really shows how time does its thing sometimes, Like we've gone through this entire arc of hating the prequels, Lucas ruined it, and now we've fully come back to just being like, oh, let's like, these movies actually good? You know what I mean? And again, I haven't seen Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace in a while, so I'm not going to jump into the conclusion that those are good as well. I just really enjoyed myself with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, fair enough. Same here. Just to give quick shout-outs to the other two things that moved me. I watched episode 3 of season 2 of Last of Us. I won't really get into spoiler territory because you haven't even watched it, in case any listeners haven't watched it yet, but very heavy episode. It was very much a breather after the last one. Really interesting stuff they did, and I'll leave it at that, keep it nice and vague. And then the other thing was, you and I went to the screening of the Dead Meat Award show, which was really fun.
Oh, yeah, wait 1 second.
This is going to be for, the visual viewers only. So if you're not on the YouTube channel, now's a good chance to go check it out so you can see what Altaf's talking about. He showed his poster for the Dead Meat Awards, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have headphones on either, so I couldn't really hear what you were saying.
It's okay. Yeah, I was narrating it. I was like, so if you haven't seen or if you're not on YouTube, now's a good time to come check it out.
Yeah, man, what a treat, because you were the one who had told me about Dead Meat like a few years back. I hadn't even.
Oh, I showed you Dead Meat? I don't think I knew that or remember that. That's funny.
You talked to me about Kill Count a lot.
Dead Meat has such a good energy about them. They celebrate movies so much and are so clearly knowledgeable and passionate, and they're not snarky. They're not in the market of dividing fan bases or giving hot takes. They're there to just, have a good time and watch all movies. And I think that's what's fun about the horror movie community in general, is how much more open the horror fan base is to like crappy B movies, but still celebrate the people who made it and how much work was put into it, and how, how much effort was put into certain kills or special effects or gags.
Oh, totally. They can appreciate, especially seeing them talking about it live, because after they did their screening of their award show for their best horror movies of 2024, they did a panel show of talking about why they chose what movies they felt like, oh, they really wanted it to be on their list. And you could see that, like, they just love the genre so much that they can find good things even about movies that are maybe not that great. And horror fans are always like that. They can appreciate the crappiest like B movie, and they can appreciate the Ari Aster Hereditary level of prestige horror as well.
Yeah, or even when they don't like it too. I mean, at least from what we saw in the panel afterwards, even when they didn't like it, they were pretty respectful of each other's opinions. No one really fought about anything. Everyone was like, "Oh, interesting." You know, they're very fascinated by the subjectivity of it all.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out there, man. It would be amazing to have like James and Chelsea on the podcast as guests sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
See if we can, what's the word? Manifest it. You know.
yeah, of course, of course.
Shouty to James A. Janice.
100%. And Chelsea and the entire like group of panelists. I don't remember
whole
all
team,
their
yeah.
names. Yeah, but they're amazing. Okay, cool. So, let's get to the main feast. Chris, how did School of Rock change you?
How didn't it change me is a shorter answer I can give. No.
How old were you when you first watched it?
I think about 9 years old. I watched it with my dad and I think my, sibling at the time. And I think because my dad's a musician himself, like on the side, he plays a lot of guitar and he has several guitars and is a huge music head. There was something about this movie that was such an interesting connective tissue because there were little songs that he would sing or, that would play in the movie or references. Like, how when in like the montage when he's giving his lectures and you see all the different bands written on like a web on the chalkboard.
Yeah.
My dad was able to like point him out. Oh yeah, no grunge for this and that. That like, he was able to like get into it for that stuff. And so I think there was something just very, very special about it, for both of us, for our bonding. And I think it's one of the few things that made me want to play music in general, which I'm not like a professional musician or anything, but I like music, I can play a little bit and I get into it.
Wait, tell the audience if they don't know, what do you play?
I play the drums. I play drums, I play a little bit of ukulele, and I sing okay. But that was like my main instrument, growing up. I was on and off bands as a kid. I was one of those guys that was, had friends, let's start a band. And we played in a garage. And there's just something very special about just getting together with friends and jamming and the feeling you get when you play a song and it sounds good. And there's like a very irreplaceable feeling that comes with it. And I think School of Rock is one of those movies that plants that seed and encourages like I wouldn't doubt thousands, if not millions of kids picked up a guitar because of School of Rock.
Well, 100%. Did you play drums before School of Rock?
No. Funny enough, my first instrument was a guitar, and I don't remember the chronology if I played guitar before School of Rock or after, but it was definitely part of the equation, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That and then Guitar Hero as a kid, funny enough. I know it's corny to say, but a lot of people, a lot of millennials played Guitar Hero and were exposed to a lot of fucking amazing music because of that game.
I mean, it's the famous story with Post Malone. He learned how to play guitar by playing Guitar Hero.
I actually didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself, but it is a pretty famous story. Yeah.
Well, I did play when Rock Band came out, though, funny enough you say that. When Rock Band came out, I did play the drums on it. And if you play expert mode on the drums, they are actually surprisingly accurate to how drums are really played. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of like how fast you have to play and
it's clearly designed for people who like playing in real life as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was one of the things that planted the seed of me enjoying drums, because I did play guitar at first and I wasn't very good and I didn't like it as much. But once I got into drums, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah. So did you jam with your dad when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, and I still do. I first started when I was like 13. I think him and I started playing together.
What's your because I know your dad showed you a lot of music. Like you were saying, he could like do the Rick Dalton meme, point to the TV when he saw the chalkboard with all the bands. Did he like influence your taste in music as well? Oh
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he, for the most part, growing up, it was a lot of nu metal, at least for me growing up. When he'd drive me to and from school, he'd play System of a Down, Disturbed, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he still showed me a ton of, 70s and 80s rock.
I'll answer before we get deeper into it, because I have more questions for you about School of Rock and its influence, and we'll be talking more about it. But how it changed me, I love this movie. I think I just loved Jack Black as a kid, like all kids do. And what's awesome is that all kids still do. Like, Minecraft is the biggest movie in the world right now, and there's a whole generation of kids that for them, it's probably their first time seeing Jack Black in live action. They probably heard him in Kung Fu Panda, but like the fact that he's crossed generations like this.
Oh, I know. Well, I feel the same way about Jumanji too. I'm sure a ton of kids loved Jumanji when it came out.
Are you talking about the new Jumanji, right?
The one that he was in, yeah.
Right. 100%. Like, but Mario as well, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I love Jack Black. I loved this movie. I have to say though, this is one of those movies, and I feel like there's a bunch of them in our relationship as friends, where I liked it, but you were the one that made me realize that, oh, no, this is like a masterpiece. Because I was like, oh, that's a, no, School of Rock. I love it. I saw it a couple times, and it's a cute movie. It's fun. And the way you talked about it, like, I was like,
it's the Godfather to me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I never considered this movie that way. I mean, I consider Lion King the same thing, where I'm like, Lion King, of course, it's great. We all know that. And you're like, no, Lion King is like, it's better than Hamlet. Like, you were talking about Lion King like it's a work of American literature. Like,
yeah. I mean, I stand by those opinions. I don't take that back at all.
No, you shouldn't. But I want to say, like, you're the reason I love School of Rock. Like, you're the reason I appreciate the way I do. And the movie by itself, outside of that, is amazing. But I think, like, I'm gonna sound very corny when I say this. When I watch this movie, I think of you. Like, even when it's not for this podcast, if I want to watch it for fun, which I've just put this movie on. It's a great movie to put on. It's a great comfort food movie. But I think of you because I can't separate this movie from you. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a crisp movie. Like, the enthusiasm and giddiness that Jack Black's character, Dewey Finn, has about rock and roll. And also the anger when he realizes kids haven't been taught well. Like, it reminds me of you. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you're like Dewey Finn, but it just reminds me of the passion you have for this kind of music.
Yeah, and I think, like, what makes Dewey Finn a fascinating character is what you said. He is an extremely enthusiastic, like, Jack Black has a physicality in this movie that, like, I cannot picture anyone on earth playing this role. No, it's such a Jack Black character. And the way he moves when he's like taking those intense steps when he's like walking towards the students, and like him shifting his eyebrows around when he first hears the kids play. There's so much of it that he just puts himself into. And I think I remember specifically how hard my dad laughed at the bit when he first brings up Zach at the front when he gets all the instruments and in front of the class. And he asks him, he's like, you ever play electric guitar? He's like, no, my dad won't let me. He thinks it's a waste of time. He's like, a waste of... And he like goes and grabs, like, he's immediately so fucking heated over thinking that electric guitar is a waste of time.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the secret sauce to why we love Jack Black so much, why he's crossed generations. I've said it many times, so I promise I'm not going to go into it again. But he's a movie star for kids, similar to Robin Williams and Jim Carrey, right? He is when kids look at Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, and Jack Black at their heyday, you have this thought that I did when I was a kid, watching Jim Carrey specifically, which is like, you can get paid to do shit like this? You know what I mean? And I think what makes Jack Black so special is he's never concerned with looking or being cool. Like, and he is a movie star. Like, he sells movies based on him, right? Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have that movie star thing, which is like, well, I still got to be a cool cat. Like, I still got to be this guy that you're like, I want to aspire to be him. And it's more like I'm not afraid to be passionate. I'm not afraid to be excited. And I think that's the thing that like really inspires me when I watch Jack Black, or I listen to his interviews or whatever. Is just like, oh, here's a guy that's not afraid to be enthusiastic.
Yeah, and he also encourages enthusiasm from other people too. At least his character in School of Rock. Completely, like, that's his whole thing, is that he basically is like, helping people come out of their shelves. And throughout the whole movie, all of the characters are kind of in shells. And I love the first introduction we get to the kids is when the principal is leading, him in and walking through all the, the rules and policies. And then as soon as they get through the door, you see all the kids are sitting on their desks and playing, and then they all rush to their seats, which is pretty normal, but it shows that these are proper, uptight private school kids. But at the end of the day, they are children that want to have fun like any other human being. It's like a small way to plant that seed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a movie that's also about how valuable a great teacher can be. Even though Dewey Finn is a criminal, like he should be in jail, like his character is, like,
he's fraud. He's a heavy fraud.
But I think the essence of it is there, right? Is that like a teacher that can like touch your soul, it will mean the world to you. Like these kids, even if they don't play music ever again, this will be such a defining moment for them, and you can
100%.
Like I wanted to ask you, like, do you have a teacher like that you can think of that really moved you or inspired you or made you understand something about yourself that you didn't understand before?
Yeah, I have a couple, no one I want to just name just out of, for whatever. I don't know if that's weird or not, but I had one in high school that I was pretty close with. He was my English teacher, and he kind of helped me come out of my shell when it came to acting and drawing. Because for listeners who don't know, I was a theater kid growing up. I ended up not really wanting to go down that path later on, but it still planted the seed for me getting into, quote unquote, the arts,
Yeah, sure.
And he had us all read stuff, like classic Shakespeare stories. And I remember like there was something about the way him and I would talk about the stories that like, oh, we can actually have an interesting conversation. And it kind of brought that out of me. And then also I have a couple teachers when I was going to college that meant a lot to me, that taught me a lot about screenwriting and different tastes, and kind of opened the doors for me to want to check out other things and expand kind of what I'm into and kind of get further into it. So yeah, absolutely. What about you?
I had someone in college who, I won't name his name again, just out of respect. But I used to work for the school, our college newspaper, and he was the lead. Like he was the head of the multimedia department, I'll say, for the college newspaper. So I would make videos and everything. And his job was basically to guide the students when it comes to like handling like the camera equipment, but also teaching them a little bit about broadcast media and all that stuff. And I learned a lot from him about the technical aspects of shooting video and editing and everything. But also he's the first person I told when I said I was going to drop out of college and move to LA. And he's the first person that I think made me realize that like there is nothing wrong with kind of chasing something that is outside of the beaten path, especially growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee. And there was not that many people that were like making this big move the way I was. It was scary, and I was going to be doing it alone. And I'm still in touch with him, whenever I have a chance, if I'm going back home, I try to like grab lunch and everything. But that was a very meaningful experience,
Yeah. That's really cool. I mean, especially that must have been a fucking crazy thing to talk about.
Yeah, dude, I remember
like moving out of your state.
I remember going into his office, and I wanted to tell him because he kept telling me, he's like, hey, next year there's like maybe a higher position that could actually be paid. And as a college student, being paid to like work on like broadcast media for your college is pretty big, right? And he kept being like, you should do this. This would be a great opportunity for you. And I kept having to like, I'm going to have to tell him, like, and I told him before I told my parents, before I told anyone, you know what I mean? And so I'll always remember that moment, walking into his office, like my heart fucking beating. Like I was so nervous.
I can imagine.
I wanted to start here. This movie, like I said in the beginning, feels like a real miracle. Watching it last night, every performance is good. Every single performance works. It's pitch perfect for what needs to be done. It's a very tight script written by Mike White, who insane. He is actually now the showrunner for the biggest show like on HBO, White Lotus.
I know.
Right next to maybe Last of Us now, but like White Lotus is like when a new season of White Lotus comes out, I don't know about you, Chris, but like literally everyone around me is talking about it.
Yeah, same.
And it's just wild seeing him in this movie. And
I know.
I think like the musical performances, which we'll talk about, they're all genuinely entertaining and fun to listen to. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know if you feel this way watching it, where you're just like blown away. Like, what the fuck? How did they pull this off? You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think Richard Linklater, is a more underrated director when it comes to performances. I think there are like most of his.
I feel like he's properly rated when it comes to performances. People always talk about how good he is with actors, right?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess I missed that. My bad.
No. I didn't mean to jump on your point. I just wanted to say that like he's been known to talk about how he like works very closely with actors when it comes to even developing the script.
Sure.
He's just like, he does long rehearsal periods, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it in his movies for sure. You know, most of his movies, there's no bad performances, and this one's no different. I mean, I think when it comes to, the performances of the kids, I feel like none of them overact. And remember, I think we've talked about this in several other podcast episodes, is like I get very annoyed when kid actors feel like little adults, when they over emote and when they over... like when they act in a way that feels like they're trying to get attention, which is normal. I'm not going to totally.
No, I agree with you. When they're too precocious, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work on screen, But
we talked about this during our It Chapter 1 episode.
Oh, okay, that's right. But yeah, so for this one though, like everyone feels like exactly their age. They'll be kind of shy and awkward. They don't, they'll still yell and whatever. So like they all have different personalities from one another. But they all still feel like mellow private school kids that are kind of reserved. And Jack Black's the one that's like the super extroverted one. And that contrast works.
Oh yeah, they're all brought out. Their personalities are brought out with the music, which is what is special. And talking about precociousness, there is only one kid that is extremely precocious, but it works because it's just one, and she's special. It's Summer, played by Miranda Cosgrove, who is just like, just a revelation in this movie. She is so fucking good. Every time it cuts back to her, it's entertaining. Like when he's ripping apart the demerit slip, once he finds out what, so he finds out what these demerits are for. And he's so ashamed. He's like, what's happening?
What kind of sick place is this?
And he immediately takes it and rips it apart. And it cuts back and you can see Summer like, she's acting like her soul's being ripped apart.
Yeah. Well, and also later too, when he tells her good job, is like 5 gold stars. And you see her kind of perk up and put her hands together.
When she takes roll call and then she's like, oh, Summer here. Yeah,
know,
did you know when you watched School of Rock, had you seen Drake and Josh yet?
Drake and Josh wasn't out when this movie came out.
Well, you watched School of Rock, like this movie came out in this movie came out in 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
I think Miranda Cosgrove's performance at School of Rock is what got her Megan in Drake and Josh.
Yeah, wow.
I think,
okay.
I mean, I'm sure there were other things that led to it.
She is definitely younger here, though. Yeah, you're right.
But
I mean, it's just phenomenal. I think there are some very genuinely moving performances by the kids too. Like their characters really move me. I think like two characters that I really want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could talk about all the kids, but the two kids that I really want to talk about is Zach Mooneyham.
Sure, yeah.
Played by Joey Gatos, and lovingly nicknamed Turkey Sub, Tamika. Played by Maryam Hassan, who is just... They're both phenomenal, but what I liked about both their performances, and the reason they move me, is because they're both kids who are quiet, awkward, the way kids are, mm-hmm. and through music and through... Jack Black recognizing their talent, they're like brought out in a way that's so unexpected.
Yeah, through rock and roll in particular, I think what makes this movie so evergreen is you don't have to be like a rock and roll connoisseur to enjoy this movie. I think this movie's better if you're into rock, of course, like anything, but I do think if you're not into rock, it's still very much a celebration of coming out of your shell and becoming who you are. And they use, which is what the essence of what rock and roll is supposed to be. They say it in the movie, it's about sticking to the man. And they say like, oh yeah, Principal Mullen, she's the man, that famous speech that he gives. But I think like going back to Zach and Tamika, that like you see it in small ways of like him trying to encourage Zach to give his power stance, and when he strums to go like, ugh, like it's more than just the technicality of playing the right notes and stuff. He's trying to get them to do more than that. He's trying to give them like a feeling, like get them to express themselves in the music.
Enjoy it.
Exactly.
It. Like really be excited about what you're doing. Be excited about what you're playing. And I just find that so resonant, like in everyday life. Like if you're in the arts, but even if you're not, whatever you care about, whether it's cooking, whether it's going on runs, like really don't be afraid to be excited about it. You know what I mean? It's not, and like the cool thing is showing enthusiasm.
Yeah, enthusiasm, because rock is an expression too, it's not just loud notes, but you're expressing yourself that way because you're feeling something. So that's why he says like, now raise your goblet of rock and widen your eyes like there's something wrong with it. He's telling him like, yeah, like give it your fucking all, and even, the way he tells, I forget her name, Posh Spice, the bassist, how he's like having her like poke her lips out angrily while she's playing.
Yeah. Katie.
Katie. That's right.
You want to, so the Zach scene you talked about, which is when Dewey realizes that like, what, you've been writing music? Like no more secret songs, and they play secret song. I love that scene because it's like, it's also showing someone like me who's not that familiar with rock and roll, who never had a band, who never played an instrument. For me watching this movie, it's exciting seeing how all the stuff works. So the best scenes in this movie is when you get to see Jack Black be like, hey, okay, back up. I want you to come in and add a little da-da-da-da, and then, okay, bass, I want you to do this. Drums, let's hit that right here. Okay, everything's working. And when they're playing Zach's song and they're singing it, and Jack Black's figuring out how all of this can work, and he's telling Zach to be like, okay, I want you to kind of nod your head when you're doing that, get a little loose. What's exciting about that is it's showing like how this is something that is like a team sport. Like,
yeah, it's a process.
It's a process, but it's also like things are, I think what Dewey learns, his arc in this movie, is that rock and roll is about like doing it together, like finding the magic together. Like in the beginning, he's trying to do it himself, right? And
he's doing the stage dive and he's embarrassing himself, just rocking. He's making it all about himself. He doesn't actually give a shit about like what he's doing for people.
The entire movie is about him earning a stage dive.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And to earn it, he has to learn that like, I need to do this as a team. It can't just be about me. And the movie doesn't ever say that, but it shows it,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, especially like the arc really kicks in at the very end, which we'll get to, at the concert. Right before the concert starts, how he ends up just switching gears and wanting to play Zach's song instead of his.
Yeah.
And he says like, dude, I'm not that good, and we're here. And they're like, oh, but we might not win. And he's like, oh, it's not about winning. Or whatever he says exactly. But he basically doesn't care about the glory and success of being a big rock star. He just cared about the actual music and what he's experiencing with these kids.
There's more to art than just being the best or being successful, like monetarily,
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what this movie expresses, is that there are many people who have bands that never make it as big as Green Day, where they're like high school bands that just never like broke up, There's many bands like that, right? But like, what's the core of what you're trying to do, And if the core of it is to make music and play music, then you've done it. That's what's successful. And for him to admit, like, listen, I'm not that good. Like, you know what I mean? That is such a vulnerable but honest, like, expression to be like, hey, the thing that I love doing, the thing that is like the most important to me in my entire life, I'm not really even that great at.
But he loves it. That's really what matters, and you can tell he puts everything into it and prioritizes it above everything else in his life to where he doesn't make any money. He's a mess all the time, but he's like, but I get to play rock and roll and that's all I need to live for.
What else could I ask for? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have the Tamika scene.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wants to party with Aretha. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, like,
Set it up and
so
then like talk about why that scene means so much to you.
yeah, I think it's one of those scenes. I remember everyone kind of talks about that scene like it ages well. For those who don't remember, listeners, by chance, there's a part when Tamika wants to back out right before the audition for the Battle of the Bands because she's worried about being laughed at, and she says, I don't know why they laugh at me because I'm fat. And then he just takes a second. He's like, oh, Tamika, he's almost like disappointed that she would think that about herself.
It's not that she said she was fat that's disappointed him. It's the fact that she thinks because she's fat, people are not going to like her.
Well, that's what I mean. Exactly. Like, that's what she thinks of herself, but she's projecting that.
I think the reason I wanted to point that out is that scene speaks to me is because as a guy that's kind of been like a heavy set guy for a majority of his adult life, the thing I don't like the most is when I say that I'm fat and someone responds with, "Oh no, you look good," or like they deny it.
Equate fat with ugly,
or they just deny it. They're like, "No, you're not," and I'm like, "No, I am. I'm not beating myself up about it. I would like to not be fat, but I am fat." Yeah. I'm fat. That's fine. And it's like, I think I like that scene. Like you said, it ages well because he's not denying that she's fat.
Exactly. He basically tells her, like, he says, like, that aside, you have a gift that people want. And that's a great voice. And he says, like, Aretha Franklin, she's a big lady, but when she gets out there on stage, starts doing her thing, everyone wants to party with Aretha, whatever he says,
You quote that line to me a lot. Yeah.
It's so fun to say. And, but then he compares himself where he says, like, you know what? Like, I have a weight problem too. And I get up on stage and people worship me because I'm sexy and chubby, he says. And I like, she's like, you go ahead.
I like Tamika's little line. I was just like, why don't you go on a diet? Like,
and he's like, because I like to eat, okay?
I like Mariam Hassan is her name. I like the actress who plays Tamika because she's so timid and blunt when she's not singing. When she's singing, it feels like she explodes. You know what I mean? Which is what's like, that's what's really cool about, like, as someone who's not a musician, as someone who's not a singer, who has never played an instrument, to me, what's really cool about knowing someone who plays music or like being around that, if you like go to like an intimate concert or whatever, is seeing someone truly come alive. Like they become someone different. And it's like, in a way, it's fucking transcendent. Like when you see like someone who's like very quiet and timid, but when they pick up a guitar or when they get behind a piano, they just become someone different. And like they become like what maybe they think is the best version of themselves. And I think that's what, as someone who isn't a musician, I'm like I'm awestruck by that,
Yeah, I mean, it feels that way sometimes too. When you're playing with people that you vibe well with, that you have fun with, and you're playing like a badass song together, you feel like you've become someone else for a second. You know what I mean? It's a really cool feeling, and it's also like a bonding experience you get with someone that can't really be replaced. I think it's like any other performing art. I'm sure like actors can relate the same way when two actors do a great scene together. You know what I mean? They get to come out of their shells in a different way. And even on a small scale, you and I who do videos together, I'm sure there is a bonding that experience that you and I have making stuff, knowing that we're both sharing the same piece of media, whatever you want to call it, whether it's a reaction video or a podcast, and putting it out there and people enjoy it, And,
of course. I mean, there's nothing better than when like you feel connected with an audience or with the person you're making something with creatively. There's really nothing better than that.
Yeah. And this movie very much celebrates it. And again, I think that's what makes it so evergreen. I know I keep saying it, but I think that's why people like it and have so much fun with it, because it's charming even if you don't play an instrument, even for kids, because it still has that basic fantasy of like Jack Black coming in and just saying like, you don't have to do any homework. You're just going to play rock music.
Jack Black's outfit as Dewey Finn is so great.
Oh, well, what I love is especially when he first comes in, that it so clearly feels like something a slacker kind of just cobbled together of what he thinks a teacher dresses like.
Yeah.
Like his pants don't fit that well, but they're like, he wears this little corduroy jacket and it puts a bow tie on.
I know, it's so great.
But it's iconic though. I mean, you think of Jack Black in that bow tie, wearing the blazer, you're like, oh yeah, it's School of Rock,
I know. Is this automatically your favorite Richard Linklater movie just because it's one of your favorite movies?
You know, I'm gonna have to think about that one. Um, I mean, probably. I think in terms of personal connection, definitely.
If I'm putting you on the
Um,
spot and you had to remove School of Rock from the equation, what would be your favorite?
um, maybe Before Sunset. I
Yeah,
think.
that
You
makes
know,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. That's kind of just off the top of my head right now, like you said, putting me on the spot. So I'm not gonna hold on to that and die on that hill. You
Yeah.
know, I'm open to changing my mind to it if I think about it a little more.
I man, this is not my favorite, but I'm just gonna give it a shouty because I want to.
Hmm.
Everybody wants some, man. Like
Yeah, that's a good one too.
just who else could make that movie besides Richard Linklater?
I know. Richard Linklater is like the king of the hangout movie.
I don't know how he does it. And then he still has this like metaphor at the end of how like Greek plays and Greek heroes are not too different from baseball players. Like it's so funny to me that he has that metaphor.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Which that has to be the most like Richard Linklater moment ever when he the main character of Everybody Wants Some is floating in the lake with Zoe Dutch and he's like, yeah, so I wrote my essay about how a Greek hero is very similar to a baseball player. I mean, like, that is the most Richard Linklater, like, fucking monologue ever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As soon as it starts getting like deep and philosophical, you're like, oh, there he is. There's our boy Linklater.
He made a Hitman movie based off of a like philosophy professor. Like, it's like amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's just what he's into, and I think he does a really great job of expressing those feelings though in naturalistic ways.
Yeah, I think he has it, and he like likes playing with stories that have a little bit of edge to them. So like
Hmm.
Hitman, I'm not going to spoil it for someone who hasn't seen it, but it's on Netflix. You should watch it. It's a great time. But
Yeah.
Hitman, it's like a kind of a dark comedy, right? Like
Hmm.
it has this twist in it where you're like, whoa, okay. And School of Rock too. Like School of Rock is this wholesome children's comedy that gives you amazing life lessons. At the end of the day, the cops are chasing him because he is a fraud. And he like there's a scene where he puts a bunch of kids in a van and in the middle of school and goes to the Battle of the Bands audition where there's a bunch of adults smoking and playing cards. Like it's
Oh yeah, and he convinces the kids to fake having a terminal illness to trick them into letting them in the battle of the bands.
like it's I think that's where like Linklater's having fun, right? Like he
Yeah,
wants to
yeah.
be like, and I think that's what keeps these movies that he does from like being too saccharine or like very like schmaltzy. It's like no, I'm gonna add this little edge in there where he's like pretending to be a substitute teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's also like kind of heavily modeled after the storyline of The Music Man too,
Oh my
which
god. Oh my god, it totally is.
it's the
Yeah.
pretty much the same premise, right? Like the guy coming into
Holy
town,
shit.
bringing tricking everyone, but then also charming them at the same time. And it's interesting because in the movie Bernie, another Linklater film,
Yes.
the Music Man is heavily referenced in that movie. Do you remember Bernie's like in a performance of Music Man? There's literally a scene of Jack Black being like 76 trombones. I don't know
Yeah.
the words of that song. But I think Linklater is just a Music Man fan or something.
He
Because I
must
feel like
be.
the premise is pretty similar.
You want to talk about Joan Cusack?
Yeah, I was hoping we'd bring her up next. When I think of her character in this movie, I immediately picture her adjusting her glasses with both of her hands like this, like doing like that thing that she does. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, she's so fucking good. Probably the most standout performance in the whole movie. I haven't seen Joan Cusack in a lot of other things, if anything else at all live action. I mean, I know she's in Toy Story, obviously, but I don't know if I've seen her really in anything else except for maybe like one or two 80s movies.
I forget. Have you seen Broadcast News?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, Broadcast News is an amazing movie. It's like it's great. But it has Joan Cusack in it, and she's amazing in it. But yeah, I texted you when I got to the bar scene when he starts playing Stevie Nicks and she freaks out. I just texted you, dude, Joan Cusack, what the fuck, man? Like, because you and I have always shared how good she is in this movie. Her comedic timing, her physical comedy, but then also aside from all that, which she does amazing, she plays the deep sadness of her character really well.
Yeah,
She's
yeah. She
someone
has like
who's
another
just very lonely.
Absolutely. She has another texture to her that like the movie was very sympathetic towards her character because she could have easily been written as like the mean grumpy principal, but it kind of the movie made a point to say like all of us are dealing with systemic societal issues of having pressure on our shoulders that make us into who we are, of why we become uptight and bitter. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, that speech that she gives where she was like, I wasn't always like this, but you can't be fun when you're a principal of a private school.
Exactly, of a prep school. Because these parents, they have no sense of humor, whatever she says. Like, they're going to come down on me like a nuclear bomb. And like, it's the looks that Joan Cusack gives all the time that sells it. Like, she's so like present in like everything that like Jack Black says. She's always giving him these like really intense looks, or like listening to him and always doing these little like, oh, I don't know how else to describe it, but she's so attentive and she feels like such a believable principal of a private school. Like she is on her job.
The moment that really fucking killed me, like with laughter, like I was fucking dying, is a tiny moment in the bar where he brings the beer and they sit down and he's like, okay, Mr. Schneebly, I've been dying to ask you, how does this school compare to the other schools that you've substituted at? Like, that's her, like, a big question.
Yeah.
And, he's like, this is much better. And she's like, you're just saying that. And then he starts going on and on about how he's like, you see, these other schools, they're just around having fun. Here, it's about discipline. And Joan Cusack does this, like, she mouths the word standards and puts her, like, hand up and, like...
Yeah, she does it like standards.
Yeah, like she's like she's like, that's right. And it fucking killed me. I was like, that is, how I always say there's moments with Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin in the Spider-Man movies where I'm like, there's no way that was written. He just added that. That's how I feel about Joan Cusack's like tiny mannerisms. You can't write shit like that. She just added it.
I know it has.
Who thought I was going to compare her performance to fucking Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, but we got there.
Yeah, I know, right? Here we are. That moment has the same energy as like when Justin Timberlake was like giving his feedback on Facebook, and you see Jesse Eisenberg on the side being exactly, yeah. But yeah, dude. But like we said though, I think there was something interesting in the fact that like you start seeing that extra texture to her character once Jack Black invites her to get coffee, and the way she looks at him, she's like, you want to get coffee with me?
Oh,
like
yeah.
no one's even given her the time of day and wanted to hang out with her. And
it's great writing to set that up and, like Chekhov's gun, reveal later in that car after the bar that like, no one's invited me in the past 6 years. Like like the writing is super strong. Like they set that kind of seed up. It's just like really clever, tiny things in screenwriting. I was speaking of screenwriting. I just want to just quick shouties to Mike White and Sarah Silverman. Mike White, amazing as this kind of pushover nerdy guy. And I just love that Mike White casted himself as that.
I know.
Or maybe it was Linklater who was like, hey, Mike White, you would be great as this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whoever came up with that idea is a genius because he's so funny in that role. And like the best laugh for me, from Mike White was that first joke when he wakes up, Dewey, and tells him like, hey, it's the first of the month. I need your rent. And he's like, oh, come on, man. I don't have. And he's like, all right, sorry.
So what I like about that scene is just like, I mean, Jack Black's kind of right. He's just like, why would you wake me up when you do know that I don't have just a bunch of cash laying around? Yeah. But it's also such a fucking rude thing to do. I just want to say something really quickly. Sarah Silverman's character is made out to be like a villain. She is completely justified and right every step of the way.
Absolutely. Like, I think that's the only thing in this movie that I would criticize is that like I wish they would have given her the same grace that they gave the principal of like giving her some extra little kick or something. Because she is, I mean, I understand that she doesn't respect Ned and doesn't want him to express himself or be more of himself. But all of her concerns about Jack Black are, like you said, 100% correct. Like the dude's a freeloader and he's actively harming her boyfriend's life. So she's going to stand up for her boyfriend.
She was 100% right to call the police. Like,
Yeah.
Unless there's something else you want to touch on before we get to the final like performance. I think it's time for us to start wrapping it up, and then we can get to reading off write-ins.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's any quick shouties we can give.
Oh yeah, I mean let's quickly shout out some of the the Legend of the Rent.
Yeah, just the songs in themselves.
I Like Math is a Wonderful Thing. Uh his complete and then I also love when when Joan Cusack comes in and they're trying to fake that he's teaching. He's like, and that's why E equals MC
Yeah,
squared.
therefore, like writing it. I know.
I really love that moment when he's playing with Zach for the first time and they play Smoke on the Water.
Yeah. Then he kind of gets the band together to play, like, add this little thing. I love the small correction he gives to Freddie Jones when he's like, "Oh, give me like a little joke," and he's like, "Wait, no, stop. That sounds like George of the Jungle. Do this." It's like it feels very real in time.
I love that shit. That's what I said earlier. My favorite parts about this movie is like Jack Black's character like figuring it out with the kids, like being creative and like kind of melding it. Because that's what like it's. I'm always my favorite parts about a lot of movies is when you see someone do a job that I don't know that well, but like I'm learning about it as they're doing it. Like that's why, I mean, if you watch Thief, which is about robbing banks, so I don't want to learn how to rob banks, but Thief has so many sequences that are just like synth music matched with James Caan and his gang robbing a breaking open a safe, but because they're using like high machinery to break the safe, there's like a 5-minute sequence where there's no dialogue and you're just seeing every tiny detail. What I'm trying to say is I just love process movies, and this is a great process movie.
Yeah, 100%. Also, shouty to the character of Lawrence. I mean, I fucking love Lawrence.
Can you do the handshake? Do you know it?
I used to be able to when in elementary school. Did you guys ever do book buddies as a kid?
What's book buddies?
So I don't know if only my school did this. I actually haven't really thought about this in a while. So if anyone else knows book buddies, feel free to leave a comment. But basically older kids, like older quote unquote, as in like third graders or something like that, would be assigned to like first graders. And they would like read books to them. Basically, it was like kind of like a thing of just like almost like creating a bonding thing between older kids and younger kids.
Oh, that's cool.
So I had two book buddies. It was this little girl and a little boy, and same deal. I was probably like in third or fourth grade, and School of Rock just came out. So I taught them both the handshake to do it. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's like, oh, give me a platform, let's rock. I like made them both do it.
That's fucking awesome. God.
So I used to slap it, shoot it. Kaboot it. We're going to work on that. It's a very long handshake. Go.
Every now and then you'll just spit out a super wholesome story. Like I remember the Spider-Man episode you talked about how your grandpa dressed up as the Green Goblin. Yeah. I want to give a quick shouty to just the fact that Jack Black and all the kids from this movie, all the actors are still very close. They've done reunion performances. R.I.P. to Kevin Clark, who passed away recently, right? 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
R.I.P. to him. A lot of kids are still close. They did a reunion concert type thing, and they all like went up on stage and did like sung a little bit. And
it was fucking cool. I mean, they might even do that every 10 years. I think Jack Black mentioned that he wanted to, or something like that. Just get them together and play the show every 10 years.
There is a wholesome like red carpet interview that I talk about it and it gets me choked up. I think you've seen it where it's like a little kid.
Yeah.
And School of Rock is like one of his favorite movies, and Jack Black, like he always does with all of his fans, gives him like the best Jack Black moment you could ask for.
Well, he was like a disabled kid, wasn't he?
He was.
I don't remember exactly what it was. I haven't seen the video in a while, but I think he was handicapped to some capacity.
And Jack Black was just like, you know what? School of Rock is my favorite movie that I've done, and immediately just starts breaking out into song.
I know. He starts singing. He's like, in the end of time, there was a man who knew the road.
And I just think that like Jack Black is one of those people that if you went up to him, he would be exactly what you want him to be. Quick story. Chris and I
know a story you're about to tell.
So Chris and I went to the Alamo Draft House, which in LA is in downtown. I see Chris coming up the stairs. Ahead of him, I see another man. Long gray beard, a tie-dye t-shirt, a backpack, shorts. And I'm like,
and like long, colorful socks too. And like, this dude looked loud.
And I'm like, that's Jack Black. And I text Chris. I'm like, hey, I think that's Jack Black in front of you. And I don't think so, but it does look like him. And then Chris met me, and then Jack Black finishes walking upstairs. Me and him locked eyes. He knew I recognized him. And he was just like, he wasn't like giving me daggers, but he kind of knew that, like, okay, it could go one of two ways. This guy just continues staring at me, or he comes up to me. And I didn't go up to him. So now I've seen, like, living in LA for 8 years, I've seen a handful of celebrities, and I usually don't go up to them because you end up learning to just, like, leave them alone, especially when you live in LA for a while. Jack Black was the one that I regret. And I'm like, I should have gone up to him. Like, that's like, and I told my roommate, like, and he was like, bro, that's Jack Black, though. You should have gone up to him. Like, because I was just like, no, I don't like to bother him. He's like, but it's Jack fucking Black, you know? And I saw Jack Black go to the bar in the Alamo Drafthouse, and immediately the bartenders like fist bump him, and he fist bumps them back, dabs them up. Like, he's so nice.
I mean, yeah, and to be fair, he also did dress up very loud. We can usually tell, like us LA people, like when a celebrity usually wants to look unrecognizable, they will look unrecognizable. They'll wear like a hoodie, and they'll dress up very low key. But Jack Black was wearing, like you said, a tie-dye shirt, long socks, short. Like, he looked like his Jablinski Games channel. Basically what you would imagine if you just ripped him straight out of that.
Yeah, he was dressed like Jack Black. So, okay, cool. So let's talk about the final act really quick, and then we can get to the write-ins. I think I was telling you, I was like, it feels like this movie just like is obviously leading up to this, but Richard Linklater and team basically treat this final act like it's an action sequence. They shoot it with this like bravado, like when they reveal the theater and you see the audience, or when Jack Black goes up with the uniform and all that stuff. Like the way they pan down to Jack Black, it feels like this is it. Like they shoot it with this sense of confidence.
Yeah, and it emulates the feeling of, playing a show. You know what I mean? Kind of like like you said, this is it. Like, we've been practicing for this whole time, and this is what it's amounting to now. This is the moment that we just lose ourselves in this. And it
acknowledges every aspect of the band as well. Like, it talks about how the lighting guy has to come up with like a new lighting cue, and it shows the TV behind them showing like the edited videos they made to supplement it, and it shows like the one kid holding the smoke machine.
Yeah. Well, this movie celebrates all of them throughout too, which is what I love so much. When he assigns everyone, how even, you see the security team like soundproofing and trying to, they'll say like, they like announce when the teacher's coming. And then you see, I forget his name, the little black kid who was hiding behind the tree. I was like, clear, like when they're about to run out to go to the audition.
Yeah. Yeah, and like as a kid, I just had a very surface level because I didn't grow up with like someone like your dad who played, right, and taught you about music, and I didn't listen to that much rock and roll, and I just like as a kid, I just thought like a band is the musicians. And I remember as a kid watching School of Rock and that kind of teaching me about like, oh, it's not just the musicians. It's the people who designed the outfits they're going to wear. You're tacky and I hate you. We didn't even mention that kid.
Oh, yeah. Jesus. Fancy Pants.
Billy Fancy Pants, played by Brian Faldudo. Fucking amazing.
Yeah. Can he be the band stylist instead? Of course he can. Fancy Pants.
Anyways, but that's something I really appreciate about this final act is like you see, and even like it'll cut back to security. Just being like, we're set, we're good. And they're just dancing at the end of it. Like I love that aspect of this movie.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, like any other art form. I mean, not a lot of movies, especially movies about bands and stuff, really make a point to acknowledge that part. And, like anything else, right? If when you're making a movie, you're on set, there's a ton of other moving parts besides just the director and the screenwriter and the actors, I think also the extra layer that this scene has is the parents coming in. It feels like everything's closing in, and the tension of the parents chasing after them and then not being allowed in and just going and buying tickets so they can get in.
There is nothing funnier than Joan Cusack leading all the parents. Like her coming into the office and just be like, all your children have gone missing.
Oh yeah. Well, even before that too, when they were all like dogpiling her and they're all yelling at her, which it realistically acknowledges, like, yo, where did you find this guy? How did you not do any screening or background check or ID or nothing?
Yeah, the parents are right to be that concerned. Like, you know,
to be that upset, especially at school they're paying money for, and then he was just teaching them fucking rock music. But it's the scene right when she's like, hey, 1 second, and she just walks out and slowly goes down the stairs and just steps into the corner. And the framing was so dramatic too. It's like from this lower angle looking up, and you see the railing of the stairs like blocking her, like she's in prison or something.
Yeah, it feels like suddenly it's like this Sundance movie. Like there's
like they went so hard in the framing of that scene. Can I say one more thing real quick too?
Please.
Is that as soon as they all decide, like, oh yeah, let's just go do the show, while the kids, then they go and get on the bus and leave. The woman who's the new teacher, I don't know if she's supposed to be the original teacher or like a new sub, but she barely speaks a word, but her body language is so fucking funny.
Amazing.
When she sees all the kids are gone, how she just like just starts running in her arms, just like, help, like the kids are gone.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. I think there's not much else to talk about. Obviously, there's that amazing moment with that one of the band members flirting with Joan Cusack that I fucking love.
Oh yeah, I mean that was hilarious. Spider, the new guitarist, with his like, just shout out Shouty as well to No Vacancy, the band, the fictional band.
Yeah,
there's just something about the way they sound and the way they feel like such a Battle of the Bands band. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, totally.
But then also just the change of how he had like a mullet in the beginning of the movie. Then when he's doing the Battle of the Bands, how he has a super short spiky haircut, wearing like that button up shirt. Like they all kind of sold out, you know?
Yeah, these are hacks.
But also Shouty to the really quick moment as well that you and I get really giddy over is when Tamika comes out and starts singing.
Oh, fuck that.
Dude,
like I want to cry when she comes out.
I know, dude. That scene makes me want kids. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of thing like conveyed and without speaking any words. I'm like, oh, I don't understand that feeling. But I'm seeing it on screen and I'm on a surface level understanding it, but I have not felt that feeling.
When it cuts back to the parents.
Yeah, when it cuts back to the parents watching their kids sing like that, of seeing your own flesh and blood, like, wow, a whole audience of people, you know? Like, I think that scene alone makes me feel like, oh, shit, I want that someday. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And then if you don't want kids, everyone should watch Adolescence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, anyways, I'm glad you mentioned that Tamika scene, because literally last night I was about to cry when she came out.
Yeah, and then the dad's being like, your son is very skilled. He's like, thanks, yours too.
Yeah, just, again, there's something about Zach too. The way he just like, I like how Zach like learns a little bit of swagger, and then he plays, Linklater frames it really well, where you see like in the foreground, like you see like there's a bunch of like ladies in the front. And like when Zach goes down, it doesn't cut back to them, but you see that he's playing for them. Like he has a little bit of that like swagger, you know?
Yeah. And after the buildup too of that whole montage of showing all of these music legends and how they used to have stage presence, and you see Angus Young laying sideways running on the stage and all this stuff.
And obviously ends with this beautiful end credits sequence.
Yeah. I mean this is the only movie that I watched the entire way through, all the way through the credits, because it feels like just as much part of the movie.
And every Marvel movie.
But I'm saying throughout. Yeah, I know, that's true. But even then, I skip the credits if I can. This movie,
if you're in a theater, you'll watch it. But like this movie, no, I'm joking. Obviously, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it feels like this movie kind of feels like it knows you don't want it to end. You know what I mean? It has that feeling about it. Like even when the concert's over, you're just like, okay, the credits are rolling. Okay, we're still having fun. I want to hang out with these people.
Oh yeah, and it's a really beautiful reveal too, because it's obviously really charming that they all kind of get together, but it's also like him embracing that perfect balance between like responsibility and, or responsibility, conformity, whatever you want to call it, but also still being himself and being true to himself. That he's not just like he makes a business out of an after school program for kids. I'm like, that's exactly what he wants to do. He no longer wants to pursue being this big whatever Kurt Cobain rock star.
He found his purpose. Like it's that shot when like they play Zach's song for the first time, and then you see him step away, and you see the kids all to it. Like there's that moment where he's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? I forget exactly what he says, but you see it in his face. He's like, I mean, we all have, if we're lucky enough, we all have had that moment in life where you're like, I think I found my calling. Like,
Yeah.
and I love that moment, tiny shot where you see Shibli teach the kids.
Hmm.
It's so wholesome to see the little kids learning, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, all the really little kids. He's like, all right, guys, this is a C.
Okay, that's almost there. Okay, you know.
When I first watched the movie as a kid, I thought I misunderstood the scene. I thought it was like Ned was trying to compete with Dewey and he started his own business and it
Oh,
was
that's
like
so funny.
it was like stupid. It looked dumb, like these little kids can't play. Now again, when I watched it later, it's like, oh, he's like working with Dewey. Got it. They're both kind of a good team now.
And okay, really quickly, I just want to shout out that small moment where he's like, "Oh, my face melted off. Oh my god."
Yeah. Also, just the teacher's pet song is just so good. I just wanted to, we didn't touch on it a whole lot, but
Oh yeah.
like, yeah, like I still can sing that song from the beginning. Like it's actually a good song that I enjoy putting on and listening to,
Wanna
which
be
helps.
the teacher's pet.
Yeah, exactly. Like I still can hear in my head, like, baby, we was making straight A's.
Oh god. It's yeah, man. Love this movie. Love everything about it.
Yeah.
know?
Do you want to get to write-ins?
Let's do write-ins. So we
Hell
asked
yeah.
you guys how School of Rock changed you. You emailed us in at moviesthatchangedus@gmail.com. We always announce what movie we're going to be podcasting about and where you can email us on our Instagram at Movies That Changed Us, on our Patreon at Movies That Changed Us, and here on YouTube at Movies That Changed Us.
You're going to hear that word a lot around these parts, by the way, guys.
Exactly. And so let's read off the first person writing in, Carly Rich. Carly Rich writes, "Hello, nice dudes. Just got to start off by saying that you guys are awesome, and I'm super excited to hear your podcast about School of Rock. Well, hey, we hope we didn't disappoint.
Yeah, we hope it was worth it.
For me, School of Rock is one of those perfect films that absolutely changed me. I love every single minute of this movie and would put it up there as one of my all-time favorites. I believe even Jack Black himself has said it's the project that he is most proud of, and I must agree. I credit the cast for why this movie rules so much. Obviously, Jack Black is the glue, but the kids are incredibly talented, and the adults are some of my favorite comedic actors. I love that Mike White is getting some acclaim right now for The White Lotus, but I'll always remember his contribution to School of Rock and his first big splash. Also, Joan Cusack is a national treasure who does not get enough recognition." Yes, Carly. Okay. But the thing that I'll always hold dear to my heart is how much I cried the first time I watched them perform the big final number at the end of the movie. As a recovering theater kid, it just filled me with so much joy to see those kids shining on stage and having a blast. I still get choked up during the opening guitar riffs every single time. Thanks for choosing this movie. I'm so happy. Stay nice, dudes.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you so much, Carly. Everything you said, you basically said everything we said in our podcast in a more concise way. So we
very well done, abridged version of what Altaf and I ramble about.
All right. Do you want to read the next email by Daniel?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have them pulled up.
I'm sorry. I didn't tell you to pull it up.
Yeah. For listeners, by the way, I don't do anything unless Altaf tells me explicitly to do it. So hang on. Let me get it.
I have to kind of activate Chris.
Yeah, I'm like a little... All right, let's pull up Daniel's. Yeah. Hi, Daniel. Daniel's a frequent writer. Just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you for writing in. Thank you for following the show. Okay, here we go. Hello, nice dudes. Dan here talking about Jack Black for a minute. I saw this film for the first time about 2 years ago after hearing for a while that this is one of the great Jack Black movies. I love Jack Black so much now, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't seen this before, so I did a quick watch. I loved it. It was hilarious and a classic performance from Jablinski. About a year later, I saw it again in my high school's film appreciation club, and I loved it even more the second time since I got to discuss it with my friends right after. Jack Black means a lot to me, and he has quickly become one of my favorite actors, and he never fails to make me laugh. Until next time, nice dudes, this has been your boy, Dan.
This has been your boy.
It's been your boy. That's our boy.
Okay, so we have some catchphrases. Shouties is one. I don't know if you noticed, but this episode I tried to say it more.
No, I did notice that. Yeah, I didn't want to verbalize it, but internally I'm like, yay, he started saying it.
And that's our boy. That's another catchphrase. Both of which...
Yeah, we've been saying that since the old Nice Dude movie reaction days.
Both of which I would honestly credit you for championing and really pushing forward. Two things really quickly about that email. awesome that your high school has a film appreciation club. That's really
Yeah.
cool. And to my point earlier, how Jack Black is multi-generational, Dan is one of our young listeners slash viewers. And it's awesome that Jack Black is just as important to him as he is to us.
Yeah, I mean, like, Dan, if you're on the YouTube channel and can leave a comment, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know, what movie was it that you grew attached to Jack Black from, because if you hadn't seen School of Rock, because for us it was, I think most millennials can say School of Rock was like the big Jack Black movie.
Yeah.
But what was your big Jack Black movie? Was it Jumanji, or I don't know.
Oh, that goes for all listeners that didn't email us in or whatever. In the comments down below, give us your favorite Jack Black movie aside from School of Rock. So
yeah.
Fathom Carlson writes in, "Hey guys, before I tell y'all about my experience with School of Rock, I want to show my deep appreciation for your work. I've been watching NDMN and Movies That Changed Us for a few years now. It's always I think he meant giving me, but he said being me, such a good laugh." Well, that's very kind. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really. Thank you so much.
Anywho, I love School of Rock. It was the first Jack Black movie I ever saw, and it's probably my favorite of his films. It really helped me, and as a young kid, to appreciate rock music. It's also a big reason that I am now a musician. Wow.
Oh,
I'm a
hell yeah.
percussionist now. And this movie made me want to aspire to play music myself. It's just awesome.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'll let you finish it, but that's what I touched on in the beginning. I feel like a lot of kids picked up instruments because of this movie.
You're right. As a youngin', I saw this movie with my dad. It made me want to be like the kids in this movie. So I joined a band in middle school. I started playing euphonium. It's like a smaller tuba, and became a multi-instrumentalist in high school as I started learning percussion. I am now preparing to go to college for music education, and School of Rock is a big cause of that. It's a part of the reason I joined band in the first place, and thus is the reason I have found a community where I feel I belong. Thanks so much, Fathom.
Fathom, that is music to my ears. That is so moving. I can't express like how nice that is. That like, that's exactly what I was trying to express in the opening of this show, is that I feel like this movie is such a powerful piece to encourage people to find their creative outlet and to find belonging. And like you said, we talked about with Jack Black's character of like, that music isn't just about yourself and, in the stardom behind it. It's very much about what you stand for and the people you express your feelings with and the community you build around it. So the fact that like you're the embodiment of like exactly what I'm talking about is so cool, and it's such a testament to how powerful this movie is.
It's like this podcast was a scientific experiment. You put out a hypothesis, and Fathom came
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Fathom came in at the end and just proved your hypothesis.
Yeah, exactly.
To everyone who emailed, what sweet write-ins. We always get great write-ins, but I think because School of Rock means a lot to you and I, it just felt nice reading all of those.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. You can, again, follow us on Instagram, Patreon, and YouTube at Movies That Changed Us. And if you want the notifications on Patreon for when you can email us, know that you can also just subscribe to our Patreon for free and still get those posts.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to pay, but if you want to just keep a close eye on what we're up to and stuff, you can still follow us.
If you're interested in getting early access and ad-free, or interested in our commentaries, you can always join.
You can always support.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being you and sticking it to the man. Stay nice, dudes.